Good evening and welcome to our continuing special coverage on the ground here in Jammu and Kashmir. Tonight we're broadcasting from a traditional bathing boat here on the Dal Lake, also known as the Snan Nav. Right behind me you can see the shikaras in the lake, of course at this moment steeped in darkness. But this is a boat that the Kashmiris take out when they want to go swimming, when they want to bathe in the lake. It's called a Snan Nav. On the program today, of course, it's been an important day in the valley. The Prime Minister was here today making his first much anticipated political address in the valley. There were inevitable comparisons drawn to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who also made his historic speech on Insaniyat for Kashmir in 2003. On the program today, we'll be asking whether Narendra Modi hit the right notes in the Kashmir valley or whether he missed a chord. Can the Modi mantra work in Jammu and Kashmir? That will be our big debate on the program tonight. But now let's get started with our top story. As we said, the Prime Minister was in Srinagar today, and as the crowds filled up at the Sher-e-Kashmir grounds chanting Modi, Modi, it was a big statement for the BJP's Mission 44 project. The BJP, of course, trying to open its account this time in the valley. The Prime Minister invoked Vajpayee, but mostly focused on Vikas, development, but also made an emotional speech saying he promised to share the pain of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And in what could spark off a controversy, Narendra Modi said that it was under his government that the army had for the first time moved swiftly and publicly on justice for the killing of 2 teen boys recently here in Budgam. The anticipation was sky high. It was going to be the Prime Minister's first public rally in the valley. And as the crowds, men, women and children, started pouring into the Sher-e-Kashmir grounds, the political controversy erupted even before Narendra Modi arrived. This time led by the Chief Minister Omar Abdullah. On Twitter, he accused former separatist turned mainstream politician Sajjad Lone of helping the BJP mobilize numbers for the Srinagar rally from his bastion in North Kashmir. But the BJP hit back, saying it was their candidates who had brought in local supporters from across the valley. In the women's enclosure, Kashmiri voters spoke of what they hope to hear the Prime Minister speak on. We hope he brings a message of peace, said one. Lift the shadow of the gun, said another.
मैं चाहती हूँ वो पीस करे और अच्छा मैसेज लेके आए।
पीस का मैसेज आप कुछ बोलेंगे?
हाँ जी,
क्या बोलेंगे?
हम बोलेंगे कि यहाँ मोदी जी आ रहे हैं, हम खुश हैं। वो यहाँ पर आकर गरीबी हटाए, बेरोजगारी हटाए, बदलाव लाए बाढ़ से जो आया है, और क्या नाम है, गन वन सिस्टम दफा हो जाए, इधर से
गन वन सिस्टम दफा
हो जाए।
अच्छा, आप बताइए, पिछली बारी यहाँ पर वाजपेयी जी भी बोले, तब उन्होंने पाकिस्तान की तरफ दोस्ती का हाथ बढ़ाया, लेकिन आज वो मुमकिन लगता है आपको पाकिस्तान के साथ दोस्ती, क्योंकि अभी ये हाल में जो मिलिटेंट अटैक हुए हैं?
जी मैम, ये तो गलत बात है, मिलिटेंट अटैक कर रहे हैं। तो मैं कहती हूँ अल्लाह, मैं ऊपर वाले से यही चाहती हूँ कि मिलिटेंट्स नहीं होने चाहिए, आपस में दोस्ती होनी चाहिए, दोस्ती होनी चाहिए,
दोस्ती का हाथ बढ़ जाए, अच्छा रहेगा।
किसके साथ दोस्ती?
दोस्ती साथ मोदी जी के साथ।
आप मोदी जी के साथ दोस्ती?
जी जी हाँ।
The PM arrived at the grounds wearing the traditional Kashmiri phiran. He stopped to hug his candidates and a select group of Maulanas on stage. Also present was Ram Madhav, RSS leader, who is now a senior BJP functionary. By now, the candidates were grabbing their selfie moments with the PM, and the crowds had erupted in a chorus of Modi slogans. The backdrop today may have been elections, but this was no routine rally. It was the larger message for a wounded valley that people were looking out for.
जिस बात को अटल जी ने प्रारंभ किया था,
दिल्ली अपना दरवाजा आपके लिए कभी बंद नहीं करेगी.
Comparisons would also inevitably follow to the last time a BJP Prime Minister was here. In 2003, Atal Bihari Vajpayee famously deviated from his prepared text to make his offer of Insaniyat to an anguished state.
भाईचारे से, हाँ कभी-कभी देर लग सकती है, मगर देर को बर्दाश्त करना होगा. खून बहाने से अच्छा ये है कि थोड़ी देर लग जाए. हाँ, फैसला इंसाफ का हिसाब होना चाहिए, इंसाफ के आधार पर होना चाहिए, ये मैं मानता हूं. और बातचीत हमारी इंसानियत के आधार पे होना चाहिए.
And today Modi promised to build on the Vajpayee legacy.
अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी उन्होंने एक अच्छी शुरुआत की थी. जिस बात को अटल जी ने प्रारंभ किया था उसे मुझे आगे बढ़ाना है. जो सपना अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी ने देखा था उस सपने को मुझे पूरा करना है और मैं इसे अपना दायित्व समझता हूं. अटल जी ने इंसानियत की बात कही थी, कश्मीरियत की बात कही थी, जमहूरियत की बात कही थी. और ये तीनों ऐसे पीलर हैं जिस पीलर के भरोसे हमारा कश्मीर 21वीं सदी की आन बान शान बन के रहेगा. ये विश्वास लेकर के मैं आया हूं.
But he stopped short of elaborating whether his approach to a peace process in the state would be different or similar to that of Vajpayee. As expected, the Prime Minister is invoking the legacy of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, even quoting from Vajpayee's historic speech in which he spoke of offering the people of Jammu and Kashmir whatever is possible within the boundaries of humanity, within the boundaries of insaniyat. The Prime Minister has promised to take forward the legacy of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, promising the people of Jammu and Kashmir that their pain is his pain. And also, more strikingly, the Prime Minister spoke of justice, speaking of how it was for the first time in 30 years and because of his government that the army had taken swift action in the fake encounter that killed 2 teenage boys in Budgam.
पहली बार 30 साल में पहली बार ये मोदी सरकार की कमाल देखिए. पहली बार सेना ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करके कहा कि जो 2 नौजवान मारे गए थे सेना की गलती थी और सेना ने अपनी गलती मानी. इंक्वायरी कमीशन बैठे और जिन लोगों ने गोली चलाई थी उन पर केस दर्ज कर दिया गया. ये मेरे नेक इरादों का सबूत है मेरे भाई बहन. 30 साल में नहीं हुआ है, 30 साल में नहीं हुआ है. और इसलिए मेरे कश्मीर के भाइयों बहनों, मैं आपको न्याय दिलाने के लिए आया हूं.
It's a comment that could create some controversy. Before his campaign speech, the Prime Minister made sure he offered tributes to the martyrs killed in this week's terror attacks at Srinagar's army headquarters. But at the rally, while reiterating the sacrifices made by soldiers and policemen, he said it was his government's leadership that had ensured that the army had acted on its own wrongdoing. What was not mentioned by the PM was just as significant. There was no mention of Article 370 and no mention of Pakistan. What was on offer was not Vajpayee-style poetic flamboyance, but his own distinct brand of Modinomics. Development is the key to political deadlock. The debate will continue. Did he hit the right notes or miss a chord? In Srinagar, with Nazir Masoodi, Zafar Iqbal and Manu Nair, Barkhadat for NDTV. And now to our big debate on the special broadcast from Srinagar, one of Srinagar's Snan Navs tonight, bathing boats tonight. The political question is, did Narendra Modi's first public rally in the valley hit the right notes or did it miss a chord? He invoked Vajpayee, but did he go far enough or did he miss an opportunity? And can the Modi mantra work in Jammu and Kashmir? Let's introduce our guest now. With me here on the location is, of course, Hina Bhatt. She's a BJP candidate. She was on the stage with Prime Minister Modi today, along with many other candidates. From the PDP, we're joined by its senior leader, Nizamuddin Bhatt. From the National Conference, the senior leader and spokesperson, Junaid Mattu. Also, we have a series of guests joining us from Delhi today. Also from the BJP central leader, Nalin Kohli is with us. Sushil Pandit, a Kashmiri Pandit in exile, also the head of Hive Communications, is also joining us. And Professor Siddiq Wahid, the former Vice Chancellor of the Islamic University, is also with us on the program. And I'll start with you, Hina, since you were right there. What did you think? Because some things were glaring for the fact that they were not mentioned. 370 की कोई बात नहीं हुई, शायद आपसे डर गए कि आप कोई गन उठा देंगे. पाकिस्तान की कोई बात नहीं हुई, और जब बात हुई तो वाजपेयी जी की हुई, लेकिन इलेबोरेट नहीं किया. It was more about development, विकास, tourism, education. So what for you was the takeaway?
No, actually what he said, I'm quite content, satisfied. Even the public was satisfied. We don't really want to drag 370 all the time. BJP is here only for the positive efforts. Positive efforts like development, but we are not seen. We are like Vajpayee ji, he talked about Vajpayee ji. Yeah. Vajpayee ji came and he started the peace process actually from the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Yes.
So it was all about positive. What is the negative about that?
But the Chief Minister of the state, and I'll get Junaid in just a moment, on Twitter said that Sajad Lone had brought the crowds for the rally. Ye bahar se aaye the log. That's the Chief Minister's allegation.
But I would really like to appreciate that also. The to Kashmiri hi na.
तो आप कह रहे हैं जहां से भी आए थे तो कश्मीरी, लेकिन आप मानते हैं that Sajad Lone helped with mobilizing?
No, I really don't know. I'm not really aware of that. From any part of place, either Sajad Lone, whosoever group was there, but they were Kashmiris.
Okay, let me
appreciate that.
Let me get Junaid in, and then we'll take it to some of our Delhi guests. Do you think that the National Conference is betraying a nervousness? Do you think that, as Sajad Lone himself said, both the PDP and the NC keep criticizing the BJP, but both of them secretly want deals with the BJP? When Omar Abdullah says, even before the rally has started, that these are crowds that have come from Jammu, these are crowds that have been enabled by Sajad Lone, isn't he betraying a nervousness? Quickly, and then we look at the speech itself.
No, but I'll tell you, I'll put this in context.
Yes.
For a month and a half, we've been hearing that there'll be 100,000 people in Modi's rally.
Yeah.
And Srinagar will be deserted because everybody and their uncle and aunt in Srinagar will be in Modi's rally. I mean, we have seen the visuals. 4, 5, 6,000 in max. Where did 94,000 people do? The need for us to dismantle the myth of Modi being a crowd puller in a place like Kashmir, the sentiments attached and all, putting everything in context of the political sentiment.
What did you take away from the speech? You're focusing on the numbers. What did you take away from the speech?
No, we have to focus on the numbers because they started tom-tomming the numbers. And about the speech, he mentioned a couple of things. He said that this is the first time that a political rally has been organized of this nature in the Sher-e-Kashmir Stadium. Prime Minister Vajpayee did it in the same stadium.
He quoted from, in fact,
he quoted for him, and the irony is that he negated his presence in the same stadium. He spoke about the flood. We still have to hear about the flood rehabilitation package. Apparently, some Modi forms are going around in the state where BJP workers are distributing forms that fill these forms, and we will give you direct rehabilitation. If anybody is guilty of abandoning the people of Kashmir, discriminating against them during the darkest hours of the flood, it is the BJP and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There is no doubt about that.
Okay, but the speech itself? Did you agree with the invocation
Lackluster,
of Vajpayee?
he looked flustered, he looked confused, it was not his usual self.
Lackluster, flustered. Okay. Nizamuddin Bhatt, quick comment, and then I want to get Nalin Kohli in. When Vajpayee was here in 2003, actually Mufti Saab was part of that. That was not a campaign rally. That was the Prime Minister coming. It was not exactly an election campaign, but the PDP helped organize that. So can you really afford today to say that you're anti the BJP? Because that rally that is quoted again and again was done with the help of Mufti Saab. I remember I was there in those grounds in 2003.
You made a difference yourself. At that time, it was the Prime Minister who was speaking from the ramparts of the stadium. And today, it was a BJP leader campaigning for his candidates in J&K state.
Yes.
What we gather from his speech,
yes,
it was all political, a gimmick, uninspiring.
Political, a gimmick, uninspiring. I want to take this straight to Nalin Kohli. Nalin, the question we're asking, did Mr. Modi hit the right notes or did he miss a chord? Did he miss an opportunity? Please respond to what the National Conference and the PDP are saying. They're calling it gimmicky, they're calling it lackluster. The Prime Minister has also come under criticism for taking the credit for the army delivering justice in the killing of 2 teenage boys in Budgam. Possibly something that will not make the armed forces very happy either. Your comments?
I'm actually smiling, Varkha, because you are asking people whom we are opposing to give certificates about the rally. How would you like it if I asked your competing
They have a right to their point of view.
They're certainly not going to. So it's not going to be.
Well, I also have. We all have opinions on each other. We all have opinions on each other. We all have opinions on each other. It's a free world.
Of course.
I also have opinions on my competitor anchors and channels. Go ahead.
So of course we are entitled to, but let's look at it in terms of facts. The first is the National Conference is desperate times. And why wouldn't it be? Just 6 months ago in the Lok Sabha election, the National Conference got a phenomenal 10% of the votes, and they were at number 4. The BJP had 32% votes at number 1. And certainly Mr. Abdullah should have reasons to criticize it. And definitely they must have found every speech of Prime Minister Narendra Modi uninspiring, gimmickry, all of the words used. But the people of the state decided to give 3 seats to the BJP out of 6. So we need to leave it to the wisdom of the voter, not the wisdom of our political opponents of how they would describe it. What's more important, that is there not a free, fair and a wonderful election taking place? It's a victory of the people of Kashmir. Doesn't matter at the end of the day, someone will get the vote, but a democratically elected government will be there. 72% votes despite the boycott call of separatists is shown them the place.
You haven't answered my question. You haven't answered my question on the Prime Minister taking credit for the army moving swiftly in delivering justice in a fake encounter in Budgam. Do you believe that after offering tributes to the martyrs who were slain in the terror attacks, this was the right signal? Should a political government be taking credit for what the army does or doesn't?
I think, no, well, let's go one by one. That situation can be across the border where the army is a separate institution unto itself. In India, as rightfully in a democratic setup, the army functions under the civil administration at the end of the day. And when the Prime Minister speaks as the head of the government of India in that sense, the army is not at war with him. The army is there for him to protect the interests of India, because the sovereign, the constitution matters. I see no controversy here.
Siddique, Wahid, what was your takeaway? There were inevitable comparisons, of course, drawn to Mr. Vajpayee's historic speech in 2003 when he said whatever is possible within the boundaries of insaniyat, humanity, will be given to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. But Mr. Modi is his own man. He doesn't necessarily have to be Vajpayee. So what did you take away, Siddique?
Well, I took away the fact that, I mean, for example, mentioning Atal Bihari Vajpayee does not necessarily mean, contributing or doing anything to his legacy, number one. Number two, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee talked about insaniyat, whether one agreed with it or not is a different issue altogether. But when he talked about it, he was talking about solving the problem, the dispute over Jammu and Kashmir. And that was the central issue that he was addressing, and I think that was appreciated. Today, it was not mentioned at all. And in fact, it was completely skirted. And let us be very clear, is that, no prime ministerial visit to Jammu and Kashmir that ignores, as happened in the case of Congress Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and is happening with Prime Minister Modi, is not mentioning and at least a movement towards where we go in terms of solving the problem, and just talking about economics and just talking about development is not going to cut much ice with the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
Let me bring in Sushil Pandit. That's an interesting point you make. Sushil, Vajpayee had a certain poetic flamboyance. Mr. Modi is a different personality. My reading from listening to the speech was that this was more about Modi-nomics. Economics is a key to political deadlock than it was about the Vajpayee-style philosophy. What you're hearing some of our panelists say tonight is that led to a missed opportunity in Jammu and Kashmir, where you can't only talk economics. What did you think, Sushil, of his speech?
See, I think this speech was about politics. We mustn't lose sight of the fact that the Prime Minister has come to the valley looking for votes. That is not what the earlier Prime Minister we are referring to, Mr. Vajpayee, came to the valley and said whatever he did then. This Prime Minister is a master communicator. This Prime Minister is a dogged campaigner. This Prime Minister is focused and driven to the point in terms of what he must achieve from a given opportunity. He's there to garner public support to his mission of delivering Kashmir out of its misery. And he's very clearly focused on that. Everything else is our take or our imagination working.
Okay, so you're saying it's interpretative, that he was here very much in a political campaign. Junaid, would you concede that it is a sign of the improved situation, the changed politics, that you could even have a BJP campaign rally in the heart of Srinagar? Who would have imagined it 5 years ago,
Absolutely.
10 years ago.
Well, give a government which has been here for 6 years and brought violence down by 70% some credit for that.
So you're saying the National Conference made it possible for Mr. Modi to be here
I mean,
today?
if there is a reduction of 70%, that's empirical data for the last 6 years. Either you're denying the army, either you're ridiculing your own intelligence bureau. These are reports from the intelligence agencies. There's been a 70% reduction in violence. Yes, efforts of the security forces, efforts of the state government. I cannot imagine that 6 years ago you could see a BJP flag in Srinagar. Now let me come to what Sushil is saying. Very eloquent points. But he talks about Narendra Modi as a dogged campaigner and he knows he's an effective master communicator. This seems like a PR caricature of a perfect Narendra Modi. But let me tell you one thing. The biggest misery of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, as accepted by the people, as accepted by the stakeholders, is the political issue here. People don't die because
Barkha, people don't die. That was not the aim of today's thing.
We don't
care.
It
was not the Prime Minister.
No. He speaks
on a peace
Sushil said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a messiah who has come to put us out of our misery. Our miseries stem for issues at the border, at the LOC, because of the political turmoil. We have not lost 60,000 people to plague or malnourishment. We have lost them to a political issue. Modi has completely sidestepped that. Completely sidestepped that.
Yeah, okay, Sushil, quickly. Yeah, quickly.
Yeah, I think Junaid Mattu is mixing up economic issue with political issue. Militancy, separatism and so-called political problem actually has become an industry in Kashmir. And any genuine, sincere resolve to solve it is always looked at something else, something amiss. This is perhaps one of the most important elections.
There is no resolve. The only resolve is about Article 370.
You haven't seen any time.
Talked about the political issue.
Give this man some time. Give this man some time.
He did not need time.
He has to
work. Speak about Article 370.
He has to work to undo all that you have done.
State subject laws, but he needs time.
He has to undo 60 years of damage that you have done.
You've had your say. Okay, now 1 minute. Both
and
of
you want to undo that by revoking Article 370.
And Sushil, my request to you, Hina Bhatt. The Prime Minister came in the traditional Piran. All of you, some of you were taking selfies with him. I saw you also taking photographs. What is the conversation he had with all of you today? Did he want to understand more about the political problems here, or was it just a campaign rally?
See, first of all, he came in such a situation here, as Junaid is saying, we would not
He's saying that हमारी वजह से आप लोग आज यहाँ पे rally कर पाए.
Thanks to them at least. BJP is conducting such a big rally in Jammu and Kashmir. According to Junaid, okay, 6,000 at least. Bharatiya Janata Party is with a rally in Jammu and Kashmir in the heart of the city.
Okay.
This is the first thing.
But what did Mr. Modi say to you? What was the conversation you all had on that stage today?
See, it was all to wake up people. He wanted to give a message to people that we all know. See, all these people sitting with me, they also know.
But do you think the problems of Jammu and Kashmir are only economic?
Yeah.
Do you think that?
It is.
Because Mr. Modi seemed to suggest that
See, I last time also told that we are sick right now. We need to get better and then only we can go out and work.
Nizamuddin, but you know, Sushil Pandit draws this distinction saying this was a campaign rally. Look at it as something that happened in the middle of an election. Stop comparing it to Vajpayee.
I agree with him fully. Because he had come for Mission 44.
Yes.
It was not Prime Minister coming with full state authority to communicate.
Yes.
Either to Pakistan or to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. He was specifically focused on his Mission 44. And he wanted to garner votes. That's why he did more politics. He even contradicted his own conduct with his own statement when he spoke about the army, as you rightly said.
That is his honesty.
As you rightly put it.
No, I said that. What did you make of that? Because Sajad Lone also said ये पहली बार हुआ है 30 सालों में. Even Sajad Lone gave him credit for that.
That is honesty, I think.
It is fair enough.
You have to give credit to the honesty also.
If there would have been an occasion where justice was delivered.
Yes.
Where justice was delivered. But he was speaking in a perspective.
So you're saying
as you said, one incident had already taken place.
Yes.
He did not mention an incident which was more where one would feel more concerned.
Okay,
entire nation was
very
concerned.
quick.
Even India and Pakistan was concerned about.
Okay.
Let me complete first.
Quickly.
Two countries were concerned. State of Jammu and Kashmir is concerned about that incident.
Yes.
There was hue and cry, gloom.
Yes.
He did not make a mention of that.
Okay.
That's once you skip such a grave incident.
Okay.
And
I want to
mention
get
to you
on the reference to the army. I have to go back to my guest and tell you
that means you are doing
I think this is the first time the Prime Minister of a country has trivialized the institutions of justice in this country by saying that they didn't get justice because the institutional justice mechanism of this country does not depend on one man. Are we to believe that the Supreme Court, the Court of Inquiry in the Army, the High Courts of this country depend upon the magnanimity or lack thereof of one man sitting in Delhi?
The head has to be honest, and then only the government will work honestly.
Okay, let's take this back to Narendra Modi.
That's an indictment of the judicial system of the country.
Nalin, you said it's a non-issue. The national conference says Mr. Modi suggested that one person or his government was larger than the institutional process of justice.
I find some of the statements coming actually from both the National Conference and the representative from the PDP rather amusing. Well, I mean, I don't know what Pakistan has to do with the elections in the internal part of India and in a state of Jammu and Kashmir. The Prime Minister wasn't there for a policy statement. The Prime Minister was there, of course, campaigning. And certainly if he's campaigning, he's entitled to make the points. What is he speaking about? Development. He's speaking about the youth. Why are the youth not getting employment there? 6 years is a long period of time. So, I mean, Mr. Mattu has nothing to speak of that. He's talking in abstracts and about institutional way.
Who said they are not getting employment?
What point to concede?
Who said they are not getting
employment? Mr. Mattu from the beginning of this conversation has been trying to find some point to negate the fact that Mr. Modi had a very popular rally. Now, the fact that the Prime Minister is in Jammu and Kashmir, please take the credit for it if you like. But the people will give you credit if you have done good work. And if they don't, then it means you failed. So you have to wait for the results.
Mr. Kohli, in all humility, please let me make a very quick interjection. You publicly, Tarun Chugh, your senior leader said you would expect 1 lakh people. By the admission of your own BJP representative on this panel, she said 6,000. Where did 94,000 people go? Is that your statement of success? Where were they abducted by aliens?
Okay, let's not get about the numbers. The discussion is not about the numbers. The discussion is about the messaging.
Let me answer that. Barkha, please.
The discussion.
We want to talk about the numbers too.
No, 1 minute. Numbers can be managed.
The numbers are not the story. The story is what did
No, but this is hilarious.
Did he say
Look at the thinking of the National Conference spokesperson. In his desperation, he is looking for aliens. I mean, we don't even know if they exist. But he is looking for aliens to have taken
over. Do you have a better alibi?
Do you have a better alibi?
They are not talking about their own
traffic jam.
Okay. Siddiq Wahid, do you feel that the BJP should get some credit because it was under them and it was when the BJP was in power that swift movement took place on these killings of 2 teenage boys in Budgam? Do you believe that that is fair credit?
I mean, you mean regarding the recent killing of the 2 people who were civilians?
Yes.
Whether the BJP should get credit for the army apologizing?
Well,
no, I don't think
well,
the
because
BJP
that's what
should
Mr.
get
Modi
credit.
said today. Yes.
Well, I mean, that doesn't make it correct.
Barkha, can I come
with all
in for
due
an
respect.
Once again, let him just complete his point.
Just the fact that that the Prime Minister took ownership of it doesn't necessarily make it correct. I think that, frankly, I don't know the circumstances under which the army apologized and called it a mistake. If that was it, and we should go on. I think that it is rather chary, if I may, of the Prime Minister to take credit for it. I think if that is the case, and also I think it can be questioned as to whether this is the first time that the army has acknowledged an error. I mean, I remember a few others.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember the specifics.
Yeah.
So I think,
I think back to you,
I think that
yes.
I think that the whole the question of today's speech by Narendra Modi as to whether the people of Jammu and Kashmir are going to respond to it, I don't think it is. I mean, another phrase that he used is "your pain is my pain," but there was no mention of the fact that when he talked about students from Rajasthan coming to Kashmir and Kashmiri students going to Rajasthan and talked about it rather wistfully, that yesterday or was it the day before, 9 students of Kashmir were beaten to a pulp. you know, in Haryana.
Haryana.
And
in
where
Haryana,
is the pain? In Haryana. And the question is, where is the pain that is shared if it's not even mentioned in this context?
Okay, Sushil Pandit, quick response, then I come back to my guests here. Do you believe that his statement on the army was in a sense a dissonant note in his speech? You know, I know you're an admirer of Mr. Modi, but what did you make of that particular comment?
That's a difficult one, Barkha, but I think he was trying to put across his credentials as a prime minister and as also the place where the buck stops in this country. But having said that, we must put this in the context of the most audacious bid BJP has ever made for the popular mandate in Kashmir Valley. You must see this in light of the fact that this is the biggest ever reinvention exercise that BJP is doing about itself. It is reaching out to electorate that it had either given up for never possible in the past. It is breaking new grounds and new geographies. It is doing things that was never imagined it would do in the past. So in light of that, I think the campaigner, our Prime Minister, he is pulling out all stops and going for every single vote that he can garner in the valley, and that is where this context lies.
Okay, Nalin Kohli, did you find it interesting that the Prime Minister was silent on both 370 and Pakistan, except to tell a story, anecdotal story about why he would not be talking about Pakistan, which he located in Kutch?
Well, I don't find it, because I think the state of Jammu and Kashmir is crying for development as anywhere else, and that's, I think, the core of it. And if the Prime Minister has chosen to speak on that, of course, I've had the pleasure of being on 2 programs consecutively, and I've heard Professor Siddique's view on both places. So therefore, I only have one point to say, that everyone will be out there and are entitled to form any opinion they want about Prime Minister Narendra Modi before he became or after. For 10 years, a lot of people carried a view about him, but he is, irrespective of that view, the Prime Minister of the country. Same in Jammu and Kashmir, the people of the state will decide who they want to elect. It's not going to matter on what any one of us says on this program. End of the day, someone is going to get elected and there will be a government and we'll know on the 23rd. And certainly, the ruling party is there. We have seen a trend of it in terms of what happened in the Lok Sabha. So the BJP, if it's there looking for votes, let's wait for the results and see what it has to say.
Junaid Mattu, Omar Abdullah, in an interview to me, said that the recent militant attacks had been a backlash to what he called chest thumping about the turnout. You had Mr. Modi again today saying that this was the win of the ballot over the bullet. So is there now an ideological clash here, very fundamental ideological clash, a political churn taking place in the state where 2 parties have completely different perspectives of this election, and one leader, the Prime Minister, believes economics is the route to resolution?
It is a clash between a sound understanding of what Jammu and Kashmir is about in its political existence, in its political identity, in its economic needs, in its day-to-day grievances. It's a bouquet of issues like any other state.
What bothered you about Mr. Modi's speech? Even if he, for example, took credit for the apology by the army in the Budgam,
it didn't bother me.
Wasn't it a statement of good intention?
No, I mean,
agar kuch galat hota hai,
I would still like to believe that you had fake encounters, like the Pathribal fake encounter. I would still like to believe that we did not see, we failed to see justice.
That's what he's
saying.
He's saying
because there wasn't Narendra Modi there. Because if you remember, whenever we spoke about AFSPA, whenever we spoke about probe into these things, and BJP was in the opposition, they behaved completely differently. They were outraged. They call it a travesty, a treachery against patriotism. So, I mean, I will frankly tell you that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP seem to have emerged on the scene without a basic understanding of what Kashmir is.
You respond to that. Were you disappointed as a Kashmiri whose father has been a long-standing senior politician of the valley? Were you disappointed that the speech was not more political in the sense of having a message for Jammu and Kashmir? It was about garnering votes. It was not about a larger vision for the state.
No, completely no. Because as Junaid, whatever he said, I believe we need a normal living. Where are we living? Where are we studying? Where are we sending our kids to school? We need a normal life.
But
Then only we can.
But will that end the alienation? Will that end the alienation sections of the valley?
We don't have a normal life here.
We're sitting at 9:30 in Dal Lake.
We're sitting at 9:30 at night at Dal Lake.
You are sitting. You people were sitting in floods also in Gupkar and Lalit, but people were suffering in floods also. Right now, the 95%
I wasn't sitting in Lalit. I wasn't sitting in Gupkar. I was in the flood areas before somebody came with a boat with the army.
And living in Lalit during floods doesn't mean we people have not suffered.
Okay, you are welcome to play politics on the flood. It will backfire.
Is whether economics is the route to resolution.
Give us the normal line.
Is economic development the route to healing?
Prime Minister made a crafty speech.
Okay.
He spoke about three things.
Yes.
Justice.
Yes.
Development.
And the Vajpayee
and
legacy.
Peace.
And the Vajpayee
in
legacy.
reference to Vajpayee. Yes, peace. In reference to Vajpayee.
Yes.
See a contradiction. When he talked about peace, there is complete deadlock with Pakistan in his own government.
But look at the terror attacks that have just taken place 2 days
ago. That's a different.
He couldn't have done a Vajpayee and offered a hand of friendship. Those were different times.
Once there's a communication gap, these things are bound to happen. You don't engage people.
Okay.
What will happen?
Okay.
One, there's a contradiction. He talked about justice. He referred to one incident.
Budgam.
And missed many others.
Okay.
Without making a policy statement.
But the point that Sushil Pandit is making, he was not here to make a policy statement.
He was herself.
It was only
gave the credit to the media.
It was only scoring a point which he never succeeded.
Okay.
Third, development. He was coming post-flood. He made an announcement when he came in floods. How much? Peanuts. We need 1 lakh crores. What did he talk about? No package. This is complete gimmickry without understanding that people of Jammu and Kashmir
I would like to answer that, Barkha, please.
Okay.
To understand.
Nalin wants to answer that.
People say.
Okay, time for last comments. Nalin, we'll start with you very quickly. I've just got 2 minutes left on the show. Yeah, Nalin.
Well, I think first of all it's probably a lack of understanding of governance that the gentleman just now has displayed. How can the Prime Minister announce a policy thing or an act of Government of India while elections are on? It would be violation of the electoral code. However, probably that only explains why there is no governance in Jammu and Kashmir, because both the parties are basically trying to look at it from a viewpoint that the constitutional mechanism does not support. The Prime Minister of the country will do something when he can do it, but in an election rally he's not going to bring government policy. If that basics is not understood, I really can't comment more.
Okay, Siddiq Wahid, what would you have wanted the Prime Minister to say today? Do you accept the BJP's point? Just one second, Siddiq, do you accept the BJP's point that this was an election rally? Why are you all getting confused? Why were you looking for policy?
Yes, well, I accept that point. It was an election rally, and if we are to sort of gauge as to the effect that the speech had on the people of Jammu and Kashmir through this election rally, I would say at least Kashmir, I would say it had zero effect.
Zero effect. Sushil Pandit, respond to that.
Well, I think it was impactful, but I would rather use this opportunity to give my co-panelists an opportunity to say their stock things about Kashmiri Pandits, since in the last 45 minutes they haven't remembered to utter this word even once. Did you guys miss us in these elections queuing up to vote and campaigning for our candidates? Did you ever remember that you had 4.5 lakhs of us amongst you 25 years back? Not a word spoken in the last 45 minutes, and I deliberately avoided doing it. I thought one of you would. But I'm really disappointed. Is that your priority in this election?
It's a very, very good question, and of course yesterday we did entire focus on Kashmiri Pandits, but what Sushil Pandit is pointing out is that none of you spoke about it as an issue.
Should I ask Sushil why he hasn't spoken about the 70,000 people who have died, and that is somehow an indication of heartlessness from his side? This was no question was
raised
in the show about the Pandit issue.
Were these
we can't talk about the Pandit issue when you talk about economics, about politics, about jobs. Leave all that aside. There is a time and a place and a context to talk about
that.
Everything.
Shows
this
your
emotional blackmailing does not
I think you should pick up the JKLF flag.
We have done more for the Pandits. We will do more for the Pandits than BJP has. We have done more.
Yes, I know what you've done for the Pandits.
I mean, this emotional blackmailing doesn't work. I take objection to this fact that BJP is stereotyping all pundits to be BJP supporters. I assure you that a major chunk of pundits will vote for National Conference.
Okay, Nizamdeen Bhatt, 30 seconds.
Yes.
30 seconds.
You have some poster boys going
Do you
around. Yes.
Respond to the
Prime Minister had come to Jammu with all seriousness.
To Srinagar.
Srinagar was a filler.
Srinagar was a filler. Hina Bhatt, Srinagar was a filler. What was the most important thing you think Mr. Modi said today? You were there.
That there'll be no nepotism, there'll be transparency, compensation money for the rehabilitation will be given to the accounts of the people.
After the
elections. This was the best what he said today.
We'll have to leave it there. Hina Bhatt, Nizamdeen Bhatt, Junaid Mattu, Sushil Pandey, Siddiq Waid and Nalin Kohli, thank you so much. The debate will continue for many days. The Prime Minister has also said, by the way, that he's the only Prime Minister who visits Jammu and Kashmir every month. Will he keep that monthly visit up? And maybe after the elections are over, will we get a clearer understanding of what his own vision, as distinct from Vajpayee, with some overlaps, will be for Jammu and Kashmir. We'll be taking a quick break. On the other side, my colleagues in Srinagar deconstruct the Prime Minister's speech. Nazeem Masoodi and Zafar Iqbal will be joining us next. Welcome back. You're watching the special episode of The Buck Stops Here. Tonight, we're from Srinagar, broadcasting from a traditional bathing boat, the Snan Nav as the Kashmiris call it. We've been talking about the Prime Minister's first public rally in the valley. You've heard the politicians and the pundits. Now hear the journalists on the ground. My colleague Nazeem Masoodi and Zafar Iqbal are with us here on the Snan Nav. Zafar, let me start by asking you. All of us have covered Jammu and Kashmir for many, many years now. 5 years ago, it would have been unimaginable that a BJP campaign rally was taking place in the heart of Srinagar. So is that alone in itself a big headline?
Of course, because 5 years ago you would have never expected that there would be so many hoardings and flags all across the city.
BJP flags.
Or BJP flags, and people in large numbers really going to the venue for attending the rally. It was unimaginable. So the mere fact that a rally took place right in the heart of the Srinagar is something big. And
I think that's what the BJP has been, of course, making that point, Nazeer. But there were a lot of people here who were probably remembering Vajpayee's speech in 2003. But our guest tonight made an important point. They said Mr. Modi was here for a campaign rally. When Mr. Vajpayee came, although Mufti Mohammad Saeed was not in alliance with him, he shared the stage with him because it was not a campaign rally. This was a campaign rally.
Correct.
So what was the big takeaway for you from the rally?
I think what he said, he will take forward the legacy of Vajpayee. That's important because they may today say anything, politician, but the fact is every party, be it PDP or the National Conference, have been saying that Narendra Modi should emulate Vajpayee and he should follow the footsteps of Vajpayee. That's exactly what he did today.
So you think that reference to Vajpayee was very important?
Very politically important because all the parties have been demanding, even smaller groups, because Vajpayee has actually won hearts here. There was many people who had trust. He believed Vajpayee can deliver. He did a lot.
What did you make of his saying that under me the army has for the first time apologized like this publicly? By the way, that's something that even Sajjad Loan gave Narendra Modi credit for.
Well, according to me, this is a major issue. It's not just whether he is taking credit or not. Fact of the matter is that people here want justice. They want end to impunity. They want that if there's a
something wrong happens, the punishment
there should be some accountability, answerability. Posts should be made answerable. And when people are saying no, then there's a mechanism within the army. Why should politician or the Prime Minister say this? Then what was army doing? Fact is, you need your inquiry or the investigation or the institution.
So you think this could be a controversial statement?
Transparent or as fair as your government is.
Zafar, what about the things he did not talk about? He did not talk about 370. He did not talk much about Pakistan except, very obliquely.
I've covered all his rallies for the parliamentary elections as well and for these elections in Jammu as well as here now today in Srinagar. I think during the rallies for the parliamentary elections when he came to Jammu, he was more free-flowing. He was more specific about what he was saying. Like Article 370, he elaborated it.
Only in the
Jammu
parliamentary
rally.
elections.
Only
in the
assembly
elections, he's not spoken about 370
even in Jammu. He did not speak a single word. So he was more guarded today. That's what I felt.
But was there a difference in his rallies in Jammu and his rally in the valley, or was it the same?
I think more or less it was the same. The things that he spoke in Jammu, He spoke the same things in Srinagar. What I think was that creative punch was missing that we've seen in the Vajpayee rally, the single statement, Insaniyat ka daira. You know, he did emphasize that he will carry forward the mission of Vajpayee, but he could not really elaborate on that. Perhaps much more could have been said in Kashmir, given the fact that it was his first rally in Kashmir after he became the Prime Minister.
But very quickly, it was an election rally. It was not a policy articulation movement, in a way.
But for any Kashmiri, he is Prime Minister of India. And whatever he says, that has a meaning for that. Why, when he talks about this incident of these Budgam killings, according it's a big thing. If even let us start from today, if there's accountability, justice system, if
but do you not think he was making a statement of good intentions, as he calls it, using Budgam as an example to say, we tribute our soldiers, but if something wrong happens, I will punish. I will make sure the justice.
He said, this is a proof of my sincere intentions that the justice is delivered. Yes. But the fact is now, will he now give some closure to older cases like Pathribal, where a case was proved by CBI, and yet the army court took it and they were given a clean chit and said people have died. Will he give justice closure?
Okay, that's a very important point. What about the other cases? One swallow doesn't a summer make, as they say. Biggest takeaway for you from the speech?
I think the mere fact that he came here and he made the speech is a big thing for the BJP to have done. But I think obviously we have to wait. He says that he'll come here again.
And he says he comes here every month.
Every month. We'll have to wait what he has to say when he comes next month, and will he come to Kashmir, and most importantly the flood thing.
Yeah.
You know, he said that obviously he'll reach out to the people, he'll give more, but again the specifics were missing. Yeah. He was saying in a generalized term that he'll reach out to the people, and you know, people would have wanted him to be more specific. Okay,
Zafar Iqbal, Nazir Masoodi, thank you so much for your perspective. That's it on the program tonight. It will be interesting to see how the Prime Minister spells out his version of the Vajpayee legacy that he's promising to build on maybe after the elections are over. This was a campaign speech and not necessarily a larger political message being sent out to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. We'll see you tomorrow night. It's a big day. It's the third phase of polling. That polling is taking place in the shadow of multiple terror attacks. Two of the areas that are voting have seen those terror attacks. How will the Kashmir Valley in particular vote tomorrow? We'll have a special coverage starting early morning. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.